आ गई है, देखेंगे। तो ये जो इन लोग वस्त्रहरण शुरू किए ना, अब महाभारत का रन देखिएगा।
As your speaker, Mahua Moitra be allowed to speak.
पहले कल्याण बनर्जी बोल रहे हैं। कल्याण बनर्जी।
No.
She has been found to be the guilty of unethical conduct and contempt of the House for sharing her Lok Sabha credentials.
जो सदस्य इस प्रस्ताव के पक्ष में हाँ कहें, जो विरोध में ना कहें, मेरे विचार में निर्णय हाँ वालों के पक्ष हुआ।
What is important is that if this Modi government thought that by shutting me up, they are going to do away with the Adani issue, let me tell you this, that this kangaroo court has only shown to all of India that the haste and the abuse of due process you have used demonstrates how important Mr. Adani is to you and to what length you will go to harass a single woman MP into shutting her into submission.
Good evening. Mahua Moitra, the Trinamool Congress Member of Parliament, has been expelled and she is declaring this to be the beginning of the end of the BJP. I'm Barkhadat. You're with the Mojo story. Our focus today is on that Mahua Moitra expulsion, what this means for the impact on politics, for the personal political brand of Mahua Moitra, but also for how the opposition might react. After being quite muted in its support of Mahua Moitra, today the Trinamool Congress came out all guns blazing to defend Mahua Moitra. Not just that, Ms. Moitra, who was not allowed to speak on the floor of the House, another Trinamool Congress speaker was scheduled to speak and the Lok Sabha speaker cited those rules, did speak outside of Parliament. And when she did, she was flanked not just by several opposition leaders, but also by Sonia Gandhi. Mamata Banerjee today also gave a feisty statement in support of Moitra. But the ethics panel report that was tabled on the floor of Parliament found Moitra guilty of what it called a heinous and criminal conduct, one that it has recommended an institutional investigation into. The ethics panel has found Moitra guilty of accepting undeniable gratification, I'm quoting from the report, and has suggested that the fact that Moitra accepted gifts and favors, quote unquote, from businessman Darshan Hiranandani, the ethics panel says, is undisputed. The ethics panel report also makes two other important points. One, it says that Moitra has been found guilty of sharing documents like the J&K legislative bill that were not yet in public domain. And secondly, it says that 50 of the 61 questions that she posed in Parliament were to promote the business interests of Darshan Hiranandani. The opposition is calling this a fixed match and are objecting fiercely to the fact that they were not given enough time to even read the report, which was tabled just this morning, and also are saying that there are many others with more egregious violations who have not been expelled. As we look at the politics of this moment, let's introduce our guests on the program today. As we look at the Mahua Moitra expulsion, let's bring up our guests. We're joined by Dilip Cherian, who's of course a brand guru, an image consultant and a political analyst. Always a pleasure to see you. Dilip on the program. Piketi Nambiar, political analyst, is with us. He's often a supporter of this government. Does he agree with what has happened in Parliament today? We'll find out in just a moment. Rahul Dev, veteran journalist, columnist, editor, is with us. Always a pleasure to have you with us, Rahul ji. And Jaya Jetli is with us. Jaya Jetli, in her time as a leader of a political party, also faced all kinds of allegations, lived through what this feels like, wonder how she sees what has happened. We should be joined by Sushmita Dev of the Trinamool Congress and Asif Bhamla of the BJP in just a moment. In fact, I see Mr. Bhamla there, and I very much hope Sushmita Dev of the Trinamool Congress, who was just with us moments ago, is able to connect shortly as well. Let me, before I play out the full statement of Mahua Moitra outside Parliament and also show you what happened inside Parliament, get first comments from our panel. Dilip, you're in the business of brand management. Is Mahua Moitra's brand today weakened or strengthened by this, or does it depend on where you already are on which side of the political divide? Dilip Cherian, go ahead.
I don't think it depends so much on which side of the political spectrum you are. It depends a lot on what she does next. The brand has emerged actually as a feisty fighter, and the brand has emerged as something that becomes a voice perhaps larger than it used to be in terms of what the debates and discussions in the future are going to be dominated by. Remember that we have about 10 days of parliament left, and then 5 days of a kind of truncated budget session because it's a vote on account, and then we are in full-blown election season. Actually, to my mind, we are already in full-blown election season. If you see the flanks of people who are standing behind Mahua as she gives her speech outside the house, it's very clear that on this issue, at a time when the share market is zooming the value of the Adani shares up, this woman is emerging as a voice that runs counter to what the markets and the rules of the house as enunciated are seeming to point in. So it's interesting times.
So let me ask you then. You seem to be very convinced that her brand has actually strengthened from this, and she has actually also led to a kind of, I won't say reorganization, but a reinforcement of opposition energies, Dilip.
My sense is that because we are already in some kind of, as I said, in the silly season before elections for our practical purposes, it's a voice that's bound to be heard more than it would have been otherwise. That's the point I'm making. She has less to lose, less to be worried about, and more decibels to, shall I say, bring into play.
Okay, let me open this. Let me open this up. But before I actually open this up, let me play out for our audience what Mahua Moitra said. This is to ANI right outside Parliament. Remember, the Speaker cited rules and did not allow her to take part in that debate. And I think that in particular might create an element of sympathy for her, even in the minds of her critics. But we'll ask her critics right after this. Let's listen to what Mahua Moitra said right outside Parliament, vowing to fight the BJP for the next 30 years. Listen in.
I'm 49 years old. I will fight you for the next 30 years inside Parliament, outside Parliament, in the gutter, on the streets. আদিম হিংস্র মানবিকতার যদি আমি কেউ হই, স্বজন হারানো শ্মশানে তোদের চিতা আমি তুলবই. We will see the end of you. Do not wonder. Punjab, Sindh, Gujarat, Maratha, Dravida, Utkala, Bongo. You don't have the Punjab. Sindh is not ours. Dravid is not yours. Utkal is not yours. Bongo is not yours. Where do you think you're going to rule us? Where do you think you get this brute majority from? The Ethics Committee has no power to expel. You have assumed the powers of a quasi-judicial authority and imposed a penalty on me that you have no power to do. You have disregarded due process, proportionality, and abused every tenet. This is the beginning of your end. जब नाश मनुष्य पर छाता है, तो पहले विवेक मर जाता है. We're going to come back and we're going to see the end of you.
We are going to see the end of you. This is the beginning of the end of the BJP. Jaya Jetli, you have seen many rhetorical claims and counterclaims in your life as a public figure. I think you don't agree with what happened to Mahua, but if I remember what Mahua did, I beg your pardon, you don't agree with what Mahua did. But perhaps you don't agree with the expulsion either. I'm just trying to remember from our last program together. But when you see her saying that, this is the beginning of your end, BJP, what do you say to that, Jaya Jetli?
Well, remembering last time's discussion, and also I've been watching your conversations and panels about Sarmishta Mukherjee's book, and also very important features and editorials and essays and all that have come in the newspapers about the election results. And I think that Mahua sticking to this Adani issue is not going to work, no matter how much she screams, because all these programs just today have said that Congress has no idea about what issues are important. So that part of it I leave there. But I remember last time saying something which I will again reiterate. One, that there are two sides to everything that I'm saying. One is I admire feisty women. I admire women who feel they've been wronged and need to fight back. There's no point sitting quietly. But I do believe she's completely going about it the wrong way. She's becoming this drama queen, imagining that she is going to solely mobilize the whole country to defeat this government, and that she may need even what next 30 years to do it. It doesn't make sense. She's behaving like a child. And I think that this has been the problem from the beginning. She doesn't understand the gravity of Parliament. She doesn't understand its propriety, its behavior. And today I was looking at other figures, the number of times at the same time, on the same date, people have logged into her Parliament question website. This is not the way that all the stalwarts all through life who have fought, won, lost governments, they have ever behaved. You do not share your password with anybody. Everybody in this country can send questions in to an MP, but then that is translated, worked upon by her office staff, and then put up in her name. So I believe this keeping it open and the list of wrongdoing in this that the Parliament has been concerned with, that you can harm national security, they're all based in different countries. Who's to know that nobody gets into their website?
So unlike Dilip Cherian, you believe that she comes across as petulant, as a child, as not a mature politician. He believes that she comes across as a spirited, feisty politician who has people galvanizing behind her. Would it be fair to summarize you in the way that I am doing, Jaya Jetli?
I would say that Dilip, who's been a very old and still good friend, he's looking at it as a marketing and brand man. I'm looking at it as an experienced person who's been very close to various political activities for the last 30 years. And nobody behaves the way she does. You march in saying, now you'll see Ma Durga. This is all drama. This is all really street play drama, which will certainly entertain the media. She will get headlines. But the kind of headlines that Rahul Gandhi or she have got regarding Advani goes down like a bomb among the people of this country. So what do we do?
Yeah. Sushmita Dev of the Trinamool Congress is with us, very much hoping she can hear us. But before I go to the politicians, I want Rahul Dev to come in. We had two completely different perspectives, one from Dilip, one from Jaya. Important point from Jaya Jetli that the election results suggest that Adani is not a popular issue. Mahua Moitra has doubled down, tripled down on that issue in her comments. One of the more damaging things that the ethics panel has argued is that 50 of the 61 questions, this is according to the panel, Rahul, are seen to be questions that promoted the interests of Darshan Hiranandani, a rival of Gautam Adani. Now, Jaya Jetli says she's behaving like a child. Dilip Cherian says she's coming across as an even more feisty, spirited person. How do you see what's happened?
Firstly, the image of Mahua Moitra as a very feisty, fighting, very sharp-witted and sharp-tongued woman is not in question. It has not been in question ever since she came into Parliament. So that image remains strong, and it will remain strong. Maybe get stronger because she's going to get shriller, as we can see. But I agree with Jayaji that this alone, this bravado or sharp words alone are not going to help her, either her or the opposition. She and the opposition will need more issues, more than just Adani, to really attack and make an impact on the government electorally. Number two, the process of this inquiry raises certain questions, at least in my mind. Jayaji is here and Sushmita is here. They are in a better position to say, but I think it falls within the purview of the Privileges Committee rather than the Ethics Committee to recommend to take action like expulsion. To my understanding, I was there in Parliament for a limited period, so maybe they can explain. Secondly, the process is also sort of half done because Darshan Hiranandani, who is a material witness in this case, has not deposed. He has not been called, and she has not been given an opportunity to cross-question him.
Yes,
that to me does not make for a fair trial.
So you believe, if I may summarize, you believe that yes, she's seen as feisty, but the allegations are grave. Adani is not working as a slogan, but she should have been given a right to cross-examine Darshan Hiranandani, whose affidavit forms the basis of the ethics panel's findings. Is that a fair
True.
comment?
Yes, you are right. I'll just add one more thing. The punishment of expulsion, to me, given all these circumstances, is overdoing things a bit. No doubt her mistake was serious. It could have had very serious ramifications for national security. But unless the probe has proven and is convinced itself that foreign interests were involved, that national interest, national security was endangered, that money was indeed taken to ask questions, if these have been proven right, then she ought to be expelled. But
Okay.
if there is any doubt, then this decision ought to be called into question.
Okay, and the fact is that at the moment, the panel has recommended a larger institutional investigation. Let me get quick remarks from the other guests, our political guests. Sushmita Dev, to you first. The Trinamool was quite quiet for a long time. It did not frontally defend Mahua Moitra. Today, that seemed to have changed. What made your party change your mind?
No, I think even on the last occasion when she appeared before the ethics committee, the party was very much on the forefront defending her. And I'm assuming that most of you watch Bengal media also carefully. So there is no such situation, but it is a fact that initially when this whole issue triggered, there were a lot of questions of fact, Barkha, that he said, she said. So obviously, as a party, you wait to speak to the member concerned. You also delve into what actually happened and then comment. But I don't think there should be any speculation about our stand vis-a-vis, Mahua and what has happened to her. I hope I can put all that speculation at rest.
Can I ask you a quick question, though, before I go to Asif Bhamla?
Sure.
I'll play out a clip of Mahua. I asked her, do you believe, maybe you didn't do anything criminal, do you believe you did something incorrect? Right? These are two different things. She said, no, I don't have any regrets. I didn't do anything wrong. She confirmed that 47 times her login was used, from Dubai. She knows that Hiranandani is a rival of Gautam Adani, the man about whom she was asking questions. Do you believe, Sushmita, with all your experience, that Mahua Moitra, maybe expulsion is not the correct punishment? Certainly, I think Mahua should have been given a chance to speak for herself in Parliament. But do you believe that Mahua Moitra perhaps erred in judgment in outsourcing her login? Would you do it? Would you do the same? Would you outsource your login?
See, I'll tell you something. Many of the members of parliament do give their login number to not just their office, but to friends, relatives. Sometimes you're on the move, you do it. But you see, what you're asking me is, should it have gone to a businessman sitting in Dubai who has a conflict of interest with Hiranandani? Yes,
Yes.
that question is very tricky. But I think in Mahua's case, she's also said that Hiranandani was a good friend of ours and a close friend of ours. So it's a very nuanced thing. Some people may well say that it's improper. You can't give your login ID to Ambani and Hiranandani. But what Mahua seems to be saying is, all I did was take help from a friend. And Barkha, I also want to tell you, and there's nothing unethical about it, when there is an issue in parliament, whether it may be related to anything, we do speak to rival groups to get more information. It's our job. It's a part of the job.
Speaking to rival groups is gathering information.
Exactly. So to say
giving their office the login and getting them to post the questions is a different thing. I'm not saying that any law has been broken, but I'm just saying that's what it looks like.
You're right. You're right in saying that. But you see, if you're going to be accused of an unethical act, even the first principles of law tell you there's something called a mens rea. What's your intention? And Mahua says that she had no intention. And I think, do you know why I feel relieved to see the report, to what extent? That the report admittedly says that we have no investigating powers. We have no investigating powers, and we don't know whether there's been cash for query. So what remains in this report is what Mahua has actually admitted. And that too, you didn't give her an opportunity to question Hiranandani, etc. Maybe if Hiranandani came and was cross-examined, she could have proved that this was not
Okay.
quid pro quo or
Okay.
two business rivals.
Okay, quickly to Asif Bhamla and PKD Nambiar before we do another round of questions. Asif Bhamla, two things that seem unfair to me as an observer. That she wasn't allowed to speak. If there is an allegation against you, she's ready to speak in parliament. The Trinamool Congress is saying again and again, Kalyan Banerjee is the listed speaker. He's saying again and again, I'm giving up my time, I'm giving it to Mahua Moitra. The speaker doesn't allow it. That seems, and he cites rules, and we'll play out that statement later in the program. Doesn't that seem unfair? Two, there's a Ramesh Viduri who made a hate speech on the floor of parliament. No action against him. So what it looks like to people is, and what she's saying is, this is a witch hunt against me. Mr. Bhamla.
देखिए महिला हो या पुरुष सबसे पहले बरखा
मैंने तो महिला की कोई बात ही नहीं की मैंने तो महिला की कोई बात ही नहीं की आपने छेड़ा आपका है महिला में तो आई नहीं
no that is a trump card which Mahua is booging the whole day. I've been seeing few of her bites. तो मेरे हिसाब से महिला हो या पुरुष सांसदीय प्रणाली सबके लिए एक समान होती है. उधर नियम कोई व्यक्तिगत रूप से अलग नहीं होते. एक तो पहले मैं ये स्पष्ट कर दूं. 4 जगह से आप एक यूजर पासवर्ड आईडी यूज करते हो. दुबई, यूएसए, चलो हमारे देश के कुछ एरिया से आपने यूज किया तो दैट्स ओके. इज that not a national security violation? And how can you do that? And tell me something, if this was done by a Bharatiya Janata Party member of parliament, would the Congress forgive that? They would have made a hoo-ha in the Lok Sabha, and she was given a chance thrice to appear in the ethics committee. She should have put her case there. Okay, as far as her speaking to a house, I on a personal level felt that she should have been given a chance, but because she's yet an accused, so that's why, as per to the norms and rules, I believe so that she should not be given a chance in a Lok Sabha to speak. You saw the hoo-ha she created in all the 3 meetings of the ethics committee. Okay, she was not satisfied. She could have gone to the Supreme Court. That's not the right way to behave, to conduct. In fact, this decision is going to be a decision which will set a narrative for politicians and for Lok Sabha members to be much disciplined, to be more disciplined in the House.
You raised one very good point.
Just because you are a Mahila, just because you've been, I will simply sum up by saying that Mahua has become a face and representative of crony capitalism in India, and the coming together, let me again repeat this, coming together of the opposition in her favor is yet another example of a self-goal which the opposition envisages always.
You actually make one very important point, which I'll take it to Dilip Cherian in a moment, that had this been a BJP MP having outsourced their login to Gautam Adani's office, how would we have responded? I think that's a very important point from Asif Bhamla, and we'll take it to Mr. Cherian in a moment. But PKD, just go ahead with your first thoughts in the meantime. PKD?
Well, I think this is from the day one, it was a very clear case wherein an MP of her stature or her level or somebody who was very vocal. But then vocal for what? Maybe for money? Vocal for what? Just to take on an anti-Modi campaign? Vocal for what? Just to attack one of the largest corporate house? I think this was all planned. And I think the way she was behaving, and I can tell you that I don't think that her brand has got elevated. This is further, she must have, her brand awareness may have gone up, but her brand value has completely diminished. And somebody who can question only about one company, that is about 80% of her questions were limited to one corporation. What is her enmity with Ambani? Does she have any relationship, or was she known to Ambani before? Does she know too much about the Ambani business in a proper way? Even if
Ambani nahi Adani. Ambani nahi Adani.
I'm so sorry.
I was a bit confused. I was like, is this another story now?
Nobody was correcting me either. So the idea is that the problem is with Mahua Moitra. Mahua Moitra has done one of the biggest crime as an MP to the people of this country and her behavior as an MP today, I feel that I would ideally cannot even tolerate the kind of behavior she was publicly showcasing. I don't think that the people, the general public at large, will be liking that kind of style and behavior. And most importantly, that technically I run a tech company too. One thing I'll tell you, giving your username and password to somebody. I have 3 MPs from my family in the parliament currently, both the houses of parliament. I don't think that they will give it to anybody other than their very close, confident employee. Not even to any employee. There will be 1 or maximum 2 employees. How can you give it? Forget about it. It's US or Dubai or wherever it may be. Giving your credentials means you have surrendered yourself to money or for your friendship or for something else.
So let's be clear about one thing. Though this has been called a cash book query scam, even the ethics panel has talked about gifts and favors, the use of a car. It has not yet established a money trail.
She has admitted, Barka, she has admitted in your show.
To gifts.
She has admitted in many interviews that I have taken money, I have taken drawings,
She has admitted to receiving the use of a car and to makeup items, to an Hermes scarf, and so on, a Bobby Brown lipstick. She has admitted. I want to play out that clip. In fact, this is not about what she's received, but she was quite comfortable in saying that she did indeed, for all of these questions, give her login to Hiranandani. Just before I come back to everybody, listen into this clip.
The allegation is that 47 times Darshan Hiranandani's office or himself, I don't know, accessed your password to post questions in Parliament.
I am surprised. It is only 47 times. It is 47 times since 2019. Please understand. Only his office has done my questions. I have very rarely done my questions.
So you agree with this 47 number?
There should be more. I'm surprised it's 47. I have 61 questions. But
has his office exclusively posted all of your Parliament questions?
Pretty much most of them, because like I said, I don't ask very many questions. I speak in Parliament. I ask 0 hour. I speak on Twitter. My way of getting, there's nothing secret.
So you agree that this report of 47 questions posted by Hiranandani's office is correct?
Of course it's correct. But I'm surprised it's only 47. It should be more. I've already said that my login portal was given for them. I have asked 61 questions.
Okay.
So to ask 61 questions, don't you need to log in at least 47 times?
Now, the ethics panel says that 50 of these 61 questions were to promote the business interests of Darshan Hiranandani. I guess it is their deduction by a majority vote that raising questions about a business rival amounts to promoting the interests of Hiranandani. But I think Asif Bhamla has a very important question, the elephant in the room, and I'm going to take it to Sushmita as well after you. Had this been reversed, had this been a BJP member of parliament, and Gautam Mandani's office was posting the questions, how would the opposition have reacted? How would any of us have reacted? Mr. Chairman.
Good question, Barka. And the opposition would certainly have at least attempted to howl, though, as you know, not much howling is heard today in Parliament or outside. That's one. Secondly, I think the real problem here is that we are trying to compare a Darshan Hiranandani with an Adani who, as anyone who's watching the stock markets know, is zooming up in terms of valuation and is emerging billions stronger every hour. So I think to compare Darshan with him is a bit of a, like setting up a straw man to attack. Darshan is a friend of Mahua's who was providing secretarial services, and perhaps because of that, because he is in similar lines of business in some cases, he was able to do research for Mahua on the Adani subject. Now, I agree with those who say that you cannot be a single subject person and create a brand around one battle if you want to be anyone significant in Parliament. Number two, her personal credibility cannot be linked to one battle. It has to have more elements, and that is something that's missing. Number three, the fact that much of it is, I would say, unfortunately, in the realm of pillow talk versus other talk, and the allegations that have been flying fast and furious are to do with everything of Mahua's life outside of her questioning in Parliament. And number 4, I think that everyone agrees so far on this panel that there is a certain process and a due process which needs to be followed. Whatever the crime, you need to have made sure that that crime, if there was a crime, and I think there is a fundamental flaw in Mahua's behavior in doing this, of giving it to a friend who was a corporate interest of some kind, small or big. And that was the fatal flaw.
Okay, that's 4 sharp points for us to discuss. Jaya Jetli, before Sushmita Dev comes in, do you want to come in on that? Of course, the Ethics Committee also cited a similar example that had taken place on the Congress watch, and it says that 10 members were expelled from the membership of the Lok Sabha on 23rd December 2005 in a record time of 23 days. So, of course, the shoe is now on the other foot, but it is also important for us to mention this example that has been cited. But go ahead, Ms. Jetli.
Well, I think basically the point is that if there is any admitting of cash, it does become a quid pro quo. If there is...
She hasn't admitted cash, she's admitted gifts.
Well, I don't know. Earlier it was mentioned that she had admitted to all these things. But whether
no,
it's
not
a
cash.
gift...
Never cash. Never cash. So
okay,
far, I'm seeing no admission
look,
of cash.
I think it's a very kind of a specious thing to go around the thing of cash by saying you could have a 40 lakh car, but you may only take 2 lakhs. But if you take a fat car, then it is translation of money into materials. But that is not a question of legal thing that has to be done separately. That's why I do feel, as an earlier speaker said, that the hammer has banged rather hard. There should have been a proper inquiry by the CBI or somebody, and I said that in the last program also, that this has to go on longer. If she could have easily been suspended, at least up to the next election, let her answer all these questions. A suspension keeps her as quiet in Parliament as it would be.
What do you make of her response to it? Both going into Parliament and coming out. You were not a fan of that, you said.
Going into Parliament and coming out? What did you mean?
When she spoke entering Parliament today, she referenced Ma Durga. When
well,
she came out,
again, it was drama. It was pure drama, just to create a big hype and a scene. It was like a movie star acting a role. It was not anything else, because also all the questions that she's been answering, that, what is wrong? I don't ask questions. I only speak in 0 hour, or I do Twitter. Do people go into lifetime politics that depend on Twitter? There have been thousands of brilliant politicians who never had Twitter, who knew how to make a speech, who study issues, learn statistics, sit in the library. If she can't do all that after the high education she claims, she is a superficial person. And I don't think somebody like that can create such a drama and think she can sway the whole country with her.
Sushmita, yeah, Piketty, just a second. I'll just give Sushmita Dev a response and then I'll come to you. Sushmita, do go ahead.
See, first of all, I don't think she's hoping to sway the whole country with her. She's speaking her mind on what she believes is her truth. And even a criminal justice system says an accused is innocent until proven guilty. So let's give her the benefit of the doubt. And when a public personality speaks before going into Parliament, or how she chooses to do her politics, is partly her choice, and leave it to her voters to decide whether she's done a good job of it or no. And 2024 will speak. People of her constituency in Bengal will speak. Another thing is, Barka, more importantly, is when one keeps saying it's a question of national security, means it's a very big word and it sounds very heavily loaded on every debate. But most of the information that is accessible through the portal, and when you put in your questions, it gives you no access to national security and national secrets. So let's put that aside. And
I mean, the panel, Sushmita, the panel said that bills were shared that were not yet in public domain. That's one of the things they've said.
No, that is not true. That is absolutely not true. The portal and the login and the password that you use is to bung in the questions, which otherwise you have to do physically. And yes, a bill is a secret document. It is generally first introduced in Parliament, and before it's introduced, no one can read it. Okay, there was a time when bills came in envelopes and they were thrown into your main door, and anybody could pull it out and read it. So it's a very nuanced thing to argue. But I think what we need to understand is that obviously on issues like this, there are going to be two sides, and everybody is entitled to their opinion. But as far as we are concerned, that there is no quid pro quo. And I think you have to give Mahua some credit for saying it right from the start, that yes, I used my login and password, and yes, he did it 47 times, and yes, I took a Bobby Brown lipstick or whatever. But to say she took that lipstick and that Hermes scarf to ask a question and to help Hiranandani against Adani, I'm sorry, that's
Okay.
very biased against her. That's what I think.
Okay, PKD and then Rahul, and then we'll come to you, Mr. Bhamla. PKD, go ahead.
See,
That's
we
the
are,
truth.
we are all talking about, we are all trying to correlate something which she has done, and with it is her choice or her choice of life and etc. Sorry, so you are a public figure. You have a privilege which the Parliament of India had given it to you. You cannot misuse that privilege, whether it is your friend, whether it is your relative, doesn't matter. How does it matter? You have your privilege, you should be protecting that privilege in full spirit. Otherwise, you are definitely not a good person to be eligible person to sit in that parliament. I would say this decision of expelling her has taken a little extra time than it should have been, because the three characters who were a part of this whole story, Darshan Hiranandani, he is admitted in writing what he had given and what he has done, how he has operated her, this thing. And then her ex, who has taken up this issue and in a proper manner to all across. So it is not like a Nishant Dubey who has come up with this whole story and created this whole thing. I think if she was not able to control her ex, if she was not able to control her so-called friend who have been buying lipstick for her, so I think let's grow up, man. I think enough Modi hatred is enough. इससे ज़्यादा नहीं हो सकता किसी को. Only because of you hate and you just jump up, you have some good fluent English,
okay,
so you are the best communicator, you can do everything. I think that's over.
Okay.
And the brand of Mahua today seems to be a ill-mannered, or somebody whom many public don't wanted to see. Maybe some of her fan boys may be able to stand by her, but otherwise, people like me, I cannot stand by her.
Okay. Fan boys and fan girls and opponents. Let's not genderize this debate. It's important to say that. But you believe that the brand is dented today. That's the important essence that PKD you're trying to make. I want to bring in Rahul. Asif Bhamla, just 1 minute. Oh, we lost Rahul. Did we lose Rahul there? Okay, Asif Bhamla, go ahead. Asif Bhamla, go ahead.
I'm here.
Oh, sorry, Rahul. I couldn't see you. I'm so sorry for a second. Mr. Bhamla, 1 second. I had a question for Rahul. Rahul, if you want to come in on this comparison. You see, it's very interesting in politics. What goes around comes around. So the 2005 example is being cited when 10 members of parliament were in fact similarly treated after a Cobra post sting operation. And that time LK Advani had called it a kangaroo court proceeding. Today Mahua Moitra has used the exact phrase. So if you observe politics long enough, it's like a revolving door. But go ahead.
It is. I think firstly, I would like to say that had it been a Congress MP in the dock, at least I, for one, would have said and done the same things. I would have reacted the same manner. Right? So it doesn't matter whether she belongs to opposition or to the ruling party. That should not be the issue here. The issue is her conduct, her nature. The kind of person she is, whether one can stand her or not stand her, is completely immaterial to this debate either. Again, right. I don't think things like this should need to be said. I think there is more to the case, more to this whole episode than meets the eye, and it calls for a deeper, wider investigation Without that investigation, which answers all the questions arising out of this episode, this express and the last punishment is overdone. It is not called for. As it happened in the earlier, the 10 MPs case also, these are serious questions, and unless mala fide intention is proved, mala fide has to be proven.
Right.
According to law, unless that is done, then mere speculation or mere the possibility of misuse, mere possibility of it could have been had ramifications for national security, could have foreign agencies could have used it. These are speculative arguments. There should not be a material issue and a material basis on the basis of which such a punishment is meted out. So I think this is completely disproportionate to the episode and what she has done. She does need punishment, yes.
She does need?
She did need to be punished, because what she has done, irrespective of everything, is a serious mistake. It's a mistake, not a crime, for God's sake.
That's an important distinction. I think that's a very important distinction. Mr. Bhamla, what was the raging hurry? Also, what is the meaning of an expulsion in the last sort of few months of a parliament? You know, you're going to have the budget session in parliament and then it's elections. So what is actually tried to, I have a hunch, and, Dilip will, I'm sure, add to this. I have a hunch that the real action is going to take place outside of parliament. This expulsion is probably only the beginning. Because what does an expulsion mean? Parliament will be over in a few months. This house.
Let me sum up this in Hindi. कि महुआ का निष्कासन जो है, ये सबके लिए एक सबक है. It's Parliament is a temple of democracy. You have to be, and parliamentarians have to be more responsible. I would say that with my party, the Bharatiya Janata Party MPs as well. This is also a lesson for our own member parliaments of your own conduct. You see, when you are a parliamentarian, you're elected, there are a lot of expectations from the people of the country, from the rules and ethos of the parliament also, by and large. And if you take all of that for granted, and if
what was the hurry? What was the hurry?
And if you become a drama queen, maybe you try to compete with the Kangana Ranaut or something. So this is not a glamour world. She must have gained some brownie points today outside the parliament. But let me tell you, her conduct has definitely scaled down the performances, the authenticity of a lot of other members. You see, now tell me, there were 10 other suspended members. There were 10 members suspended also like this in the past. So these are things,
but in this house, your party colleague Ramesh Biduri has not been acted against after making a communal speech from the floor of the house for which the party itself gave him notice.
No. Of course, that is an issue which we will obviously deal it when it comes to it. Now, today we're talking about this, but definitely, let me tell you, this also involves the question of a quid pro quo. And not only this, you see, she was given sufficient chance to exhibit things in front of the ethics committee. She could have very well put it across. Her conduct there also was very irrelevant. You see, यहाँ पर मसला ये होता है कि आप अपने आप को victim बताकर आपसे जो मसला आप कर लीजिए, तो ऐसा इस सरकार में नहीं होता है. Prime Minister Modi and Bharatiya Janata Party believes to walk in the talk. That's all I want to say in this. Thank you. If I'm allowed to.
Okay, Asif bhai, we're on last comments anyway, so stay as long as you can. We're taking last comments. Sushmita, Asif Bhamla opened this debate by saying the gender card. I haven't actually spoken about gender thus far, but do you believe? Because Mahua Moitra has underscored an element of misogyny as she perceives it. As a woman parliamentarian yourself, as a woman politician yourself, do you perceive an element of misogyny? A. B. Do you accept the distinction that Rahul Dev made between a mistake and a crime? And do you think Moitra would have been better served had she said, I made a mistake, I could have done this differently, instead of saying, as she did in an interview to me, I don't have a single regret?
See, Barkha, I feel that this entire area about the login and password is a gray area. And let me vindicate myself by saying that that is the reason that the Parliament Secretariat once again issued a notice saying this is what you can do with it, and this is what you're not going to be able to do with it. See, I'm just saying, all the people who are saying, why did you give it to Hiranandani? It's privilege of the Parliament. Then see, the law, Kanun andha hota hai. So you should be equally liable to in giving it to your cousin or your secretary also. It's a gray area. She feels that there's no mens rea, she had no bad intentions for it, and she stands by it. And you're
Would
talking
you have,
about the
would you have done,
the woman.
would you
Sorry,
have
you were saying-
also, would you have outsourced your login to a businessman even if he were a friend?
I wouldn't have, to be very honest. I wouldn't have, because I have an office in Delhi. I have an office in Delhi, I have a secretary in Delhi, so it's no issue with me. And the second thing you're saying about the gender card, you see, the reason this gender thing came into the picture is because she was closely associated with Jen. And she says that the entire thing was triggered more out of, whatever bitterness they shared, and the kind of questions that were asked of her, that how many times you travel, with who were you traveling, did you share a room with so and so. These kind of questions, they are sexist in nature. If there's a quid pro quo to be proved here, ethics committee cannot prove it. The same examples you're giving of Pawan Bansal and Pranab Mukherjee ji, there were actual concrete evidence of them accepting cash.
Right.
That is the difference between that case and this case.
Jaya Jetli, if I can get you in, and we're on last comments, everybody. Jaya Jetli, do you believe that she has been targeted, that women are disproportionately judged for the same mistake?
I don't think in Parliament the mistakes can be weighed and judged. But when you're talking about women, here, unfortunately, the story that is whirled around her have been twofold. One is that she has special relationships with other friends, and all of that is a murky thing between boy and girl, little romance. So that
unfortunately, the story originated with an ex-boyfriend.
True. So that becomes a boy-girl issue, and therefore you can't ignore the girl part. The second thing is, she herself has brought in the issue of the kind of gift she's received. If she had received some other kind of gift, but this is all handbag and lipsticks, how can no man will accept that? So you're bringing onto yourself a silly accusation because she is thoughtless. She's still, I don't know, she may be 40 or 49 years old, but she's behaving like a child who thinks that by screeching and yelling and, being feisty, she can get her way. This is a spoiled child behavior. It's not a behavior of a seasoned parliamentarian who uses her own brains to ask her own questions about multiple issues and not just one.
Okay, let me bring in Rahul Dev quickly. Rahul Dev.
Well, we've discussed almost all
most of the
dimensions
things
of it, but yes, I think she should have been given more chance, and the whole Parliament and all of us need to be given more facts. It's unfortunate that a personal pick of an ex has now brought this all out in open, and it's painful to watch. But I recall what was done with Rahul Gandhi. He was expelled, and he was expelled from his house with undue haste. And what happened next? The decision of the lower court was ultimately upturned by the Supreme Court. So this decision is also open to question. And I don't know if it will be challenged or it can be challenged in a court of law, or will it be challenged. But this is not the end of the story. All the questions have not been answered. So Parliament could have saved itself. There was no great, hurry to mete out this punishment, which is the ultimate punishment for a parliamentarian.
Yeah,
and
I think
it does smack of political vendetta, and taking someone, a very harsh critic of the regime, out of commission, at least in the Parliament. So it will be a political point in the next days.
PKD Nambiar, come in on that. Rahul Dev is not defending Mahua Moitra blindly. He's saying what's happened is wrong, it's serious, but we need more facts. And I think I agree with that. I think a lot more facts are needed to be placed in the public domain, which we do not have access to beyond the logins.
I think the ethics committee or the privilege committee may not be an inquiry, may not be able to inquire like a CBI or an ED or an income tax, or for that matter, any other agencies. What they have done in prima facie, they have found out that there is, she was sharing her credentials to people. She was focusing on one company, which Darshan Hiranandani has got to do with. So I think it was all more of like to support his own business. He did it in favor of whatever. So there is a favor which has happened. And in 2023, we should not be having people like this kind of a thought process. We are a modern, developing democracy, wherein if we are not able to showcase the punishment immediately, I think there will be many more people. And I believe that the BJP MP, what he said, and the Jayaji said, that unless you don't show that if you do something like this, I think 500 and 800 odd MPs today knows that, yeah, I should not be sharing my, even if there may be somebody more have shared. It could be even a BJP MP or anybody else. But then nobody knows about it. They should be all coming back, have a secretary who will do it. And believe me, I know a lot of MPs, none of them have ever done it, at least.
So, Sushmita, you said you wouldn't have done it because you have an office in Delhi. It's not that, no one's going to really accept that Mahua Moitra could not have got a secretary in Delhi if she so needed one.
She has got one.
I'm asking Sushmita. I'm asking Sushmita that before I give Dilip the closing word. Sushmita?
See, Barkha, you're asking me to second guess her, and it's not fair. She claims that she did not give it to Hiranandani for a quid pro quo, and it was not to promote his business against Adani's. Those are her words. And as a colleague, I have to give her the benefit of the doubt. And I can tell you, whatever little I know Mahua, she's not the type to sell her soul for a Bobby Brown lipstick and an Hermes scarf. She's a woman of substance, and you will see in 24 she'll come back with a thumping victory.
Dilip Cherian, last word to you. Let's assume for a moment that everything the ethics panel has said is correct. If that is so, why should Darshan Hiranandani be given this free pass? Why should the ex-boyfriend who knew about this be given a free pass? That's what I was sort of struck by. If indeed national security has been potentially compromised, if indeed Mr. Hiranandani's interests were promoted from the floor of the House, isn't he accountable as well? Dilip Cherian, last word.
My sense is that the real sort of elephant in the room, which we have discussed, touched upon, but actually not analyzed, is this question of national security. I don't think it's been compromised. I don't think it was even potentially compromised. As Sushmita, who is the member of parliament on this panel, says, and everybody knows who uses it, knows that the access you get for the portal for questions does not actually give you the launch secrets from Sri Harikota. It is not going to give you access to anything which the Chinese want. The fact is that you've given a friend who has an interest to ask certain questions, the ability to ask the majority of her questions. That is, as Rahul said, a mistake. It is not a crime. To bring and try and wrap all this around with a flag of national security, to my mind, is excessive. It's got nothing to do with love of Modi or love of the country. It's got to do with a deliberate obfuscation of what is a mistake.
Okay, we will leave it there. It's my hunch that this isn't the final chapter of this story. We are going to see an institutional investigation, and I think we will have to see what that throws up. That will be very, very material. In the meantime, thank you to Jayaji, to Sushmita, to PKD, to Rahul, to Dilip, and earlier to Asif Bhamla, and to our audience. Thank you for watching. See you soon. Mojo Story has always made a commitment to its viewers to go to where the story is. And as you can see here, we are at the epicenter of the Israel war
on Gaza. We are right at the front line, about 1 mile from the Gaza Strip, as the Israeli military gets ready with its tanks and its gunners to begin its final frontal assault that will take troops into Gaza. As we said, we are not like other organizations. We believe in giving you all sides of the story objectively and as much as possible from the ground. And that's exactly what we're doing here, covering the biggest global story today from the epicenter of the war zone. So please, we need your support. Support us, become a Mojo member, subscribe to us, spread the word, and thank you for your support.